My technology integration lesson plan. All of my students for this lesson plan are on an IEP, so an individualized education plan, and the goal area for this lesson is students W, X, Y, and Z will understand basic critical thinking skills and will master writing a written response to a question. All of the students involved are fourth graders who have been identified with learning disabilities specifically in reading and writing. This lesson is going to require 20 minutes per day of small group instruction over 2 weeks during their language arts time. The learning target for my students is to understand and display critical thinking skills and properly written responses. So to integrate technology into this critical thinking lesson, each student is going to have a Nook to use that will read stories for them to follow along and read the stories. As an option for differentiation, my students may write their responses to questions using an iPad or MacBook if handwriting is a difficult area for them. I chose this type of lesson because I am a future special education teacher. I have a really high interest in reading skills, and I also plan to earn an add-on license in learning disabilities someday. So to introduce the lesson to my students, I'm going to ask an open question, like, does anybody have a special pet at home? What kind of responsibilities do you have, or would you have, with your pet? Also, if you could have any pet in the world, what would it be, and why? I like these questions because they're open-ended, they're not yes and no, so it gets the students their thinking skills going right away, right from the get-go, and they get to make a connection to the story that we're going to read because it's going to be about pets. I also would like everyone to take a turn answering, so we would go around the table so everyone has a turn to connect to the story in some way. Okay, for my part, as a teacher, I'm going to begin reading the story, which once again, it's going to relate back to our introduction questions. And then I will ask the students to take turns reading a sentence from our story, and we'll go around the table taking turns with the sentence at a time. Then I'm going to ask the students individually a specific question from the story to check their comprehension. I'm going to ask each student a question, like specifically say their name, and ask them to answer the question because I want to make sure that every student is on the same page and comprehending and remembering what happened in the story so that they're ready to write. Then all students are going to be asked to pull out their notebook and a pencil so we can practice a written response as a group. So together we're going to generate our answer to practice. Also, for differentiation, I am going to have 2 students who have difficulties with handwriting. And since this lesson is focused on reading, not writing, I'm allowing them to use an iPad or a MacBook to digitally type their response. So now, as a form of practice, we're going to present a new story to the students, and once again, read it together as a group. Then I'm going to write a prompt on the board that will engage the students' critical thinking skills. I'm going to ask them to work independently for 10 minutes, and I'll set a timer for them to write or type their responses. To assess my students, I'm going to be checking their responses every day because this is going to be something that we practice for about 2 weeks. Every day I'm going to check over every day their progress that they're making and check the areas that are of need and that I need to slow down on or go back and focus on and make sure that everyone's understanding how to use their critical thinking skills and write a successful answer.